Welcome to the Full Charge Power Hour. Pledge on Patreon, patreon.com/the Full Charge. We have a very special guest today. Jeff Cesario is with us.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
This is very exciting. We're talking.
I'm excited.
We're talking before the camera started rolling. We're talking traffic in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
Which should be very interesting to the Midwest listeners.
A combined 5.5 hours among the three of us to get here. And it wasn't all Craig who had the furthest way to go.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I had a pit stop bakery thing on the east side of the San Gabriels.
So you're all the way up and back. You've already had a day. It's
I've had a
1:30
full
in the
day.
afternoon.
You're doing a rounder.
Yeah, this is the last thing I'm doing today.
Yeah, for sure.
No, the last thing you're doing is spending 3 hours driving home.
Yeah.
Are you on the west side?
On the west side. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're near UCLA.
Okay.
So we're right near where they had all the protests.
Yeah.
And then right near the federal building, which is,
Yeah.
that's got a big old red check mark on it for the bombers.
For sure.
But it's also
sure.
right by the 405, right?
Yeah.
And so I used to work on the west side, live on the east side, and I would I never bothered to move. I was too
Why?
exhausted from working.
Yeah.
Because I got
for a place.
because it was like the only I was like I can't do this.
Yeah, I'll just
but
drive
you're
back.
just beaten down. Like the first thing I would do every morning.
Yeah.
And I was chronically late and I didn't give a fuck. I was one of these guys like, please fire me. I want the unemployment
Where
check."
were you working?
I was working at a place called Lightning Dubs for the kids. I worked at a video duplication
Wow.
place.
Yeah, those
Before
places.
you could just send a
Man.
link somewhere.
Where people would like me would walk in and go, "You mean you can take my Tonight Show and you can run off 13 copies of it at the same time?"
Yeah.
And you'd stand behind the counter and go, "Uh-huh."
Let me tell you.
And I'd
15,
go,
20.
and it only costs $200. I am so there.
And I'd be-
I got to mail these out to club owners immediately.
I'd be the guy hooking you
Too
up.
good.
So this was one of my hookups when I first started stand-up, was that I could make dubs for
People?
nothing.
Wow.
I can make dubs for, or no, there was a discount. But still,
Sure.
I mean, it was like 50%. It was something good. And then I would just go to the post office and mail out my VHSs.
Man.
Wow.
I get this because, like, I started in LA, so I knew nothing about the road. And so,
Oh, you started here.
yeah, so
Where'd you come from?
I came from Maryland, and I went to like kind of a film school, but it was more like an art school. You know, they wanted us to make experimental
Is
films.
there any other kind of film school than kind of a film school?
Right, so like everybody gets into it because they want to make like Hollywood movies, and all the teachers are like, no, children, it's all about art. It's all about experimental
yeah.
film,
Oh,
which they were
wow.
actually right, because how did you make it in the 90s? You made a music video.
Sure.
And then you became a director that way. Like I think David Fincher did that.
Ton of
And-
yeah.
And
Yeah, a lot
so,
of people did,
and
yeah.
so that was experimental film. If they just would have used the words MTV, we would have been on board with what they were
Swamped.
doing. But that was sacrilege to them.
Swamped lines out the thing.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. So, and I worked at the Sunset 5 movie theater, which was an
Cool-
indie.
which was
I
a
also
cool
worked
theater,
there for it was an indie movie theater back when indie movies mattered. That was
Yeah.
it. In the 90s, it was grunge rock and
Sunset
and
5.
independent
That was it.
movies. Yeah. Like, so my first day of work, Marilyn Manson is coming in with Rose McGowan to watch Wings of the Dove.
Wow.
Winona Ryder's showing up, who I've always had a crush on. And my
Wow.
dumbass,
Wow.
influenced by Swingers, which was also popular, was like,
Sure.
you should go talk to her. You should go talk to Winona
Wow.
Ryder.
Yeah.
Since you work in the popcorn stand.
How'd that work out for the
Did
Maryland
not-
boy?
Pretty great.
I did not do it. You know what I did do? Is everybody that
You
wa-
didn't screw up your terrapin courage and go at a show with that Maryland crab spirit.
I was always kind of a shy guy, but I would force myself to meet people because
Yeah.
there was no DMing people back then. You had to fucking
you had to walk up to
IRL
them.
it.
Yeah.
So I saw we everybody that worked at the movie theater was a wannabe film director,
Of course.
Oh, my
and we all would bring in our VHSs to show each other. You know, it was half flex,
Sure.
half. You
Screening
know,
room.
yeah, and yeah, who else was gonna watch it?
Yeah.
The control room was the actual screening room.
Right.
At
And so then,
Sunset 5.
so then there was notes to be given and all this stuff.
Wow.
And so I actually had them on me, and I saw Jon Favreau, who just at that time, like maybe a year before, had put out Swingers.
Sure.
He wrote it. He stars in it.
Great movie.
And I got my tapes on him, and I walk into the Virgin Megastore. I kind of follow him. Like my heart just fucking racing. If I was older than 23, if I was 53, I probably would have died going down that escalator. You know, and I would never do anything like this anymore.
No, you
sadly.
can't.
Yeah. But I walked up to him, and he's still in his workout gear, and I handed him the VHS tapes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'd like it if you would take a look at this. You know,
Took some stones.
I'm acting in it.
hell
I
yeah.
directed it.
What did he do?
And he said, okay, cool, I'll check it out. And then if that wasn't rookie enough, that was sweet rookie.
Yeah.
That was sweet, cute rookie.
Pine tar too far up the bat.
Yeah, and in the 70s, it would have actually worked if you handled someone in a film reel.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, oh, you got this on film, which I shot on film, by the way, but still, I'm showing them a VHS. So the visual isn't as good. This is where I severely fuck up. Like, I don't even want to tell you what I did. I'm working the box office, which I'm not used to. I'm usually a popcorn guy. And
I didn't know there were specialties.
yeah, there are departments.
Wow.
That's the step up, right?
And if
Box office.
It's not a step up, but it's just like certain people are good in the box office. I wasn't one of them. It's kind of like one of those.
Box office is like above your pay grade.
I think it is. It's kind of like you have to have tenure to get the job, and they only trust certain people to do it.
And tenure's something you learned at that kind of a film school.
Yeah, tenure's about 6 months at the movie theater. Everyone leaves and everybody comes back, which I did.
My buddy Joel Madison used to have a line about how they gave him the manager job at Burger King because he had hard shoes. So it's that kind of pecking order at the Sunset 5? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and you had to be, I was explaining to my wife last night, we went to see a movie that was 35 millimeter, and I was explaining to her how, like, you have to have, like, 3 reels. You can't just do one reel on a film. As explained in Fight Club, they show you when to change the reel.
Sure.
But you had to be in a union to work at the...
for sure.
Which now, if you're in the union, you can only work at, like, the New Beverly and fucking the Vista movie theater.
Wow.
Because that's the only places that use film, right?
Oh,
Everything
wow.
that Quentin Tarantino owns.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jon Favreau shows up at the box office, and he goes, and I just go like this, like, hey, man, recognize this face, huh? You've been looking at it for the past week, I'm sure. He was like, no. And I'm like, those movies I gave you, did you watch them?
Wow.
And he goes, no, I still got them. Meanwhile, they're probably just like baking in the trunk of his car.
Wow.
And it gets worse. He goes, hey, can I get into Jackie Brown with my SAG card? And I'm like, nah, man. It's $8.50 or whatever. I should have just hit the free button.
Sure.
Here's your free fucking ticket. It's the one ticket I'm holding.
It's the one groove of traction you have in the business. You just blew through.
All I had to do was go like this.
You just golf spiked it.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I fucked up so bad.
That's awesome.
And I've never got a chance. I always thought like, oh man, there'll come a day where, me and him would be talking. I'd be like, guess what? We have met before.
At the Academy Awards, you'll be like, check this out, John.
Those are always the greatest stories. I don't have a celeb version of that, but when I was first trying to get any toehold in any business, anywhere, I had been a musician and a little bit of a writer coming out of college.
Yeah.
And I graduated in communications.
Right.
Which is like,
that's what I did.
Of course.
Is what I'm trying to
is
say.
that? So at the University of Wisconsin, so I went to Chicago to try to look for jobs, and I just, and I'm super shy. I have no people skills.
Yeah.
Zero people skills. So I'm just thinking, all right, just screw up the courage to go in and drop off a resume and a little tape, a cassette tape.
Right.
Sizzle tape of 4 minutes of me on the air. I had worked a little radio station in Madison called WORT. WORT was the call letters.
Nice.
Yeah.
But it was one of those, this was Madison, man. So it was built on,
cool.
an Indian burial ground. And don't worry about anything, man. And just do your
But Madison
shift
is
and,
cool like that, right? It's kind of a hippie college
so
town,
I
right?
did a shift that was late night, so I did a lot of jazz stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get to radio stations, and and it's the middle of winter in Chicago, and I'm cutting through like 9-foot snow drifts that people have cut a 6-inch slither through, and I'm through it, and at that point I don't even want to meet anybody. I'm so petrified. I just want to go, here's a thing, and I'm gonna go. That's the way I would do it, kind of. So, which is, you know, horrible to begin with.
Right.
But finally, a guy, listen, he actually took the tape. And he was like walking by the desk. He said, "What's this? I'll take it right now." He throws it in one of those things that you used to have in your hand that played cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And he goes, and it's just me talking, and me talking. He goes, "Yeah, what is this?" It's just you talking. Ejects it, throws it out, and walks away.
That's
he goes, "We play music here." And he goes, "Horrible pace. Nothing. Horrible pace. Just you." Throws it at me, and I'm out.
You just have to drive home.
Fantastic.
I just went home and I went, maybe radio's not for me.
Yeah. Speaking of, like, I did the same exact thing, only out here in LA. I was temping where you're talking about, off the 210 in like close to Arcadia or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this meeting with Rick Messina. I don't mind using his name for this story.
Sure.
Because first of all, he left a message on my machine that said, "Hey man, I never do this, but I got your tape." This is still a time during tapes. He goes, I want to meet with you. And I'm like, fucking awesome, because I'm temping in Arcadia. It takes me, of course, an hour and 15 minutes to go there on my lunch break, which is now pretty much just taking the rest of the day off. And if you're a temp, like with that long of a lunch break, you're fucked on that end too.
Right.
So I'm in there with...
That's extra temp.
Yeah, I know.
You're an extra temp.
You've gone from temporary to unemployed with that.
That's the double A ball of temping. Is that?
Yeah.
Give him the long lunch break.
Yeah, it has never coming back. So I go and I meet with him, and somebody else works there is with him. I don't want to say his assistant, but somebody that works under him. It's his company. And he goes, "Yeah, man, I really see something with you, even from that cheesy tape."
Ooh.
And he called me.
I could see Messina saying
He
that, though.
called
Not
me-
really, it's just conversation.
But I was so confused because he
Right.
called me with such excitement. Or not excitement, but just saying that, like, "Hey, man, you passed a test that people usually don't pass."
Right.
So I go, "I must have heard wrong." I go, "Cheesy?" And he goes, "Yeah, man, cheesy." And now his assistant or whatever is laughing, but I'm still not sure. And I go, "Cheesy?" He goes, "Yeah, man, it was fucking cheesy."
So let me
So
triple
great.
down on this.
And it was cheesy. Like, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a cool version of cheesy.
Yeah.
It wasn't really an argument. We were both talking about the same thing.
Right.
It was basically my one-liner era, where I'm like a fake lounge act.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it was cheesy. That was the joke.
Right.
But I
right.
thought it was so cheesy that it was hip.
Right.
But he's like, no, young man.
That's not how I saw it.
You're not at the hip plateau yet.
Oh, man.
You're high cheese.
Yeah, and so then I did like the fucking... Now it's rush hour driving back to the temp job
God.
for like 1 hour. And I'm just like, cheesy?
Like, wow, I can't believe he called me in off of the cheese.
Oh my God, there's so many great. I auditioned for like one of the first film roles. I got a little teeny bit of heat as an actor for a minute.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a movie with Mariel Hemingway called Kiss of a Stranger.
Okay.
And
Damn.
I am auditioning. I'm coming off of Dennis Miller Live. I was executive producing that.
Yeah.
Right.
And writing on it.
Yeah.
And I was with CAA, and I had this really good acting agent, and she said, "Well, they're looking for the producer of a television show inside the movie."
Yeah.
And she's co-host of a morning show. That's the premise of it, and she's stalked by this guy. That's essentially the premise.
Yeah.
So they're looking for this producer of a talk show. So she goes, "You produce a talk show. You work in a tough environment.
Yeah.
You're probably an asshole. Give it a try." You know,
The math isn't that bad.
yeah, it all adds up.
Let's be honest.
You just got to be yourself.
So I go in and I audition, and it's all like control room, the scene that they give you, you're in the control room and you're barking at the director and other people. It's one of those. Yeah. Hey, get moving. Hey, we need a tape here fast. What's going on? So it's a lot of that kind of stuff. So I do this scene. They go, that's really good. Okay, we'll call you back. So I think, okay, that's it. Yeah. But I get a call back. And then I get a third call back. And the second call back, they go, really good. Amp it up even a little more. So I amp it up, and then I get a third callback. I'm like, okay, I'm in. They go, even more assholey. Amp it up, just punch it, just hit the accelerator. So I go full bore.
Yeah.
And then they bring me back for a fourth one, and they go, last time, great. If you got even just an inch more of just screaming manic nuttiness.
Yeah.
So I go for it. They call back. They go, you got the role. I go, fantastic. I'm the producer. They go, no, you didn't get the producer role. We want you as her gay co-host.
Oh, man.
And I went,
come on.
Every ounce of testosterone I had went into that, and it read gay. So I just went, all right.
That's too fucking funny.
I took it.
Of course you did.
Hell yeah.
Of
Took
course
the
you
part,
did.
baby.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's too good.
So, yeah, when you get tripped up like that, oh, my God.
Yeah.
Those are the craziest.
It's a tough process. I knew somebody that used to, like, he was trying to go the Andy Kaufman angle. And so, like, he'd go into auditions wearing, like, leotards, like jazzercise. Like Richard Simmons type stuff, and he would get in there, and first he would stretch out.
I think I know
before
exactly
the audition.
who you're talking about.
It's a guy named Ryan Flynn. I don't think he would
the
care.
best.
In the
Is that who you thought it was?
Yes, that's exactly who I thought.
In the
it was.
audition, he would stretch
He
out?
would walk into the room and stretch out for a minute.
He'll bring
And
a
that's
beef
funny.
box sometimes.
Yeah, no, he was
He'll put the radio.
he was
out
a
and
nut.
play it.
He did a whole stand-up act where he was like, it was an infomercial for selling samurai swords, and they were real samurai swords, and somehow he's got plastic down, and there's like lube on the ground, and he's sliding around with these samurai swords. It's like completely dangerous. This is like practically an open mic. He's doing this.
Yeah.
He also, I think, won an air guitar competition.
I believe it.
Because he did this act where he's a Christian rocker in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And they play the music, and he's doing the thing, and he plays Stryper, that Christian rock band.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
funny.
he gets healed. He stands up.
Oh,
he
that's
reaches
great.
in his pants, throws up a pile of glitter, and then jumps into a dolphin dive breakdance move on the ground as the glitter falls on him. And I think he won the first round, but then he didn't know what to do for the second round.
Right.
Because he blew his fucking wad.
Yeah. The glitter thing, man. I'm out of glitter.
Yeah.
That's pretty. That goes big.
I hosted the original air guitar contest at First Avenue in Minneapolis.
Okay, right.
Ages ago, which was, of course, made famous by Prince, First Avenue.
Yeah.
But is one of the great music rooms in the country. Probably anywhere from 400 to 1,500 seats, depending on how you dope it out. But it was
Is the one in Purple Rain?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And they got new ownership in the early 80s, like 80. They got new ownership. And in the early 80s, they were transitioning. And I had moved up there to start stand-up comedy. That's where I started.
Yeah.
And so Steve McClellan, the guy who was running the joint, decided they had a male strip club night.
All right.
You know, it was like one of those kinds of clubs until Steve and the guys took it over. Sure. So, but they didn't want to lose the 200 or 300 people who would come in for the male
So they called in a
strippers.
Radio producer.
So right. So they would say, listen, we're going to transition out of these male strippers, but we don't want to lose the 300 people because they're buying beer and they're paying to get in. So we're going to transition slowly to the air guitar. So the air guitar is going to happen after the 5 male strippers. So we want a couple of, and it was me again and Joel Madison. We want you guys to host the male strippers. That'll be the glue, the transition to the air guitar.
Naturally.
I love that idea.
So we said, well, what am I supposed to?
Yeah.
And he literally said, I don't give a shit what you say about the male strippers. They're gone in 3 months. You know what I mean? So we went up there and it was like, all right, this next guy's, got a nutsack the size of a grapefruit. He's going to be opening for Debbie Boone at the State Fair. Please, and these male strippers would be like, but they couldn't do anything because they had to act. They had to go into their act, so they couldn't beat us up or anything.
Yeah.
And all of these, this is early mid '80s. All of these like sort of punk. It was the beginning of that. And a lot of goth. The beginning of goth.
Sure.
They would come in, and I was as petrified of, and they were howling at what we were saying about the male strippers. We actually built a demo. Out of these people, a demographic from these kids who were coming to do the air guitar.
I was going to say,
it was
I
so
would
great.
go watch
it was
that
so much fun.
just to hear your guys' commentary.
Oh God, we just raked them over the coals. It was so much fun. And then they left, and then we hosted the air guitar, and we had a blast.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Did you do the road a lot in the 80s? Or?
No, when I started in Minneapolis, I just did Minneapolis because we got to a stage. It was Louis Anderson, a great comedian named Wild Bill Bauer, and a guy named Alex Cole, who was an unbelievable comic. The two of them, Louis and Alex and myself and Joel, formed a group called the Minneapolis Comedy All-Stars. I'd been in town a year. But we were getting stage time up the yank, so I was just eating it up. And then Louis was the business person, and he cut a deal with a guy in town who had 2 improv places, Dudley Riggs Improv Houses, and we became sort of the house group at one of them.
Yeah.
Nice. So we started to make money.
Yeah.
And so I rode that out. I didn't have to do the road until I split.
Yeah.
And then I drove cross country and headlined Kansas City and headlined Denver on the way to L.A.
Nice.
In my little frickin' Gremlin.
Yeah.
Drove my 73 Gremlin cross country.
Right.
Made it through the mountains.
Yeah.
That's how I got out here. And then I was doing about 6-7 months a year on the road for probably about 5 years.
Was that fun? As fun as I imagined the 80s
the road
comedy
back then?
boom?
Yeah, because, back then, the easiest way I can put it is, at the time he thought, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. This is the hottest. Comedy just blew up.
It was huge. For those that don't know, it was everywhere. Everybody talked about it.
Yeah.
Everybody watched the Johnny Carson show, which I want to get into in a little bit.
And it was at a time when it was so fresh.
Yes.
It was just happening. And if you had an act, which I was fortunate enough to have worked really hard, and I was a writer, so I wrote like crazy.
Yes.
And so I could turn material over too, which helped. But, it was just hotter than a pistol. So now, in retrospect, I realize, that period was the aberration. Everything prior to that in history, back to the fucking Greeks.
Yes.
Put asses in the seats or you're not working my room.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Right.
Everything since 91. So from 81 to 91, that was the aberration where people would go, let's go to the comedy club. Who's there? I don't know. Let's go anyway. Okay. And they would just go in droves.
You had to go see it for yourself. You couldn't beam it to somebody's phone. And you couldn't even pass off a VHS.
No, there was nothing.
Barely.
There was nothing. You had to go to the club, and there was no real way at the time to take advantage of that demographic.
Right.
There was no social media or anything.
Sure.
You just had to work the road again and again and again.
Right.
Work the clubs, work the club owners, work the club bookers.
Yeah.
Get back there at least once every 9 or 10 months. Build that following, and that's how you built a demographic for yourself. Then when finally email came along, that's how long ago it was. I remember a guy, talk about embarrassing moments, a guy trying to explain what was, God, I can't remember, one of the original platforms anyway. For
like MySpace or something?
No, way before that.
Yeah,
I'll think of it.
Friendster's my first, so I don't know anything before Friendster.
It was, oh, God damn it. This is what happens, but I'll think of it. But in any way, there wasn't even email. It was like this whole other concept.
Yeah.
They would go, well, it goes through the air and a thing, and you would go, yeah, okay, that's not taking off. So, guys had no way to take advantage of that and really solidify your demographic.
Yeah.
But you just did it. You just did the road and did the road and did the road. And I worked with an agency called Spotlight out of New York.
Right.
And these dudes were gangsters, man.
Just straight
But they
up.
had Leno, they had Seinfeld,
Yeah.
they had Reiser, Larry Miller,
Right,
Carol
right.
Leifer, Rich Jenny. They had everybody. So when they said, "Hey, you're good," I said, "Yeah, let's do
Come
it."
over
Yeah.
here with us, Jeff.
Oh my God! But they would. I used to do a thing. Just with comics, I would say, Spotlight could get you a gig on a wrong number. They were literally, hello, Holiday Inn, Saskatoon. Yeah, no, we don't have a comedy room. I'm sorry, we're in Canada. What? Well, yes, we have a banquet room, but there's no. Of course, there's a guy. Well, we know a guy in town who has a follow spot and a sound system, but that's not. You know what? Just send a fucking comic. Okay, just send it. That's how they would get gigs.
That's so great, dude. That's so.
And I remember
awesome.
Bob Williams ran it. And JP's is still a great agent and stuff. But Bob ran it, and Bob had to have been connected. He just had that many rings on his eyes where he just went, oh shit.
Right.
So, and I remember, and he had a voice like this. He talked huge like this.
love
He
it.
would talk like this all the time.
Yeah.
And so you'd see him once in a while. I'd see him at a club, but he was the head of the agency, so I
Yeah.
just dealt with the other dudes.
Right.
But once he said, hey, I'll bring Cesario and I want to meet Cesario. So I go into his office, and it's the size of a railroad car from a 40s movie.
Right.
It's just that long and that narrow. And his desk is at one end.
Yeah.
And your seat is at the other fucking end of the room.
Oh,
There's
that's
30
so
feet in
great,
between you.
dude.
And I
That's
thought,
like a
what kind of-
movie.
is this like a power move or something? I don't know enough about that, about human nature to understand what's going on. And then suddenly, like a panel on the wall next to his desk opens up, and he comes out.
Oh my
And he sits
God.
behind his desk, and he literally goes, "So, Cesario!" And I go, "Okay, I understand why I'm 30 feet away from him.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with politics. He just talks that fucking loud
Yeah.
that people said, let's just keep moving the chairs back until we're comfortable." That was a great way to start, though. But that's how you got gigs.
So
You just
cool.
worked the road and worked the road and worked the road.
That's so cool. And so, at what point are you attempting to get on the Johnny?
Remind me of Rich Jenny, because that's probably my.
Tell me right now.
The dick thing. Don't be a dick thing.
What?
No.
Tell me right now.
I'll do it when you guys do that segment. I'll
Oh,
remember.
don't be a dick. Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Yeah.
So like obviously, I'm from what I know about it, the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson was the thing to get.
Sure.
There was no, and for those that don't know, I don't even know what show was up against Johnny Carson.
I don't think anything.
At that time, I used to watch it in the late '80s, and that's where I got my stand-up from. Was from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Johnny Carson show. And like I don't know what was on ABC. I don't know. And back then
I
you had
think
to
the
choose.
people who hosted the other shows didn't even know they were on.
Right.
right.
It was
Yeah.
just such a juggernaut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for comedians, it was here's the difference between then and now. There's a top end of the funnel that's huge.
Yeah.
People are just pouring into it from every aspect. I want to be a comedian. I want to be a comedian. I want to try comedy. I want to do something in the world of comedy. Back then, the bottom of the funnel was a little fucking pinprick called The Tonight Show.
Right.
That was it. There was no
You were
other
famous the
way.
next day.
Yo, but it was also
get-
that hard to get.
Yeah.
Right.
It was also that
for
hard to
sure.
get.
Super hard to get.
Yeah.
For
and,
sure.
and then when you came out the other end of that funnel, that little tiny hole, then things started to happen for you.
Yeah.
If you were
Yeah.
stand-up in the 70s and 80s, that was the only way to do it. There wasn't really even that strong a club circuit in the 70s
Right.
until the boom in the 80s and early
Yeah.
80s. And now the top of the funnel is the same size.
Yes.
But the bottom of the funnel is wider
way
Sure.
wider.
because you can now have a career online, whether it's TikTok, whether it's doing your own movies, whether it's blogging, whether it's podcasting, whether it's acting, whether it's sketch, whether it's animation, whatever it is. There's other avenues that allow you to make a really good living
Yeah.
doing comedy.
Right.
But the downside of that, I think, for the younger comics I talk to, is that you have to be everything. We just had a hell of an anecdote about my agent.
Yeah.
Nowadays, who the hell can even try to get a fucking agent?
You're the agent.
You're the agent.
Yeah.
You're your business manager. Back when I was coming up, it was like the whole thing was, I'll take care of the jokes.
Right.
And that's full-time energy. I'm on full power doing that. I'll hire somebody to do this, this, and this. And I got to put a team together that does the job. Nowadays, you're the team. So now your energy is like, you know, the first time I started to listen to comics on TikTok or on X or on Instagram or whatever, I would go, man, that's a good bit. It seems like it could use a little more seasoning.
Sure.
And then I went, oh, it's a business decision. They can't afford to put it back in a pottery kiln and let it cook for 6 months and become a great bit because everybody's going to go, hey, I haven't seen you in 6 months on social media. What the fuck?
Exactly.
Get your shit out there. Get your shit out there. Get your shit out there. It's a 28-minute album. It's a 9-minute mini set.
Yeah.
It's a whatever it is.
Anything.
You got to keep the face in front of people.
Yeah.
Then you got to go back and cultivate all of this business knowledge into a demographic. It's crazy. So it's diversified, and there's a downside to that, but an upside to that.
I'm so resentful that being a comedian is a desk job now. Like I'm on my computer all fucking day. It's exactly what I tried to avoid.
That's a great way to put it.
You know, and we've also taken the thing we liked least, which was morning radio, and made it the whole business.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Oh my God.
But so you how do you meet the Tonight Show booker? How does this go for you? Because you did the Tonight Show, yeah?
This is I did it 15 times.
Wow, that's so awesome.
7 with Johnny and I think 8 with Jay.
And so that's
back when Jay was permanent. When Jay was guest hosting, along with like Garry Shandling. They were alternating.
And that's 15. You want to talk about seasoning and cooking the pot?
Yeah.
That's a tight 5 that exists. Those are 15 tight 5-minute segments that can exist on their own, with an arc to the story, a beginning and an end.
I'm telling you, I'm so lucky to have found stand-up because I'm just a fucking idiot when it comes to anything else. I mean, when I think about how I got into stand-up, it was just pure merit. I mean, it was the only thing I could control was the jokes.
Yeah.
And I ran into good people out here who valued that. And you know, I only spent about 2.5, 3 years in Minnesota chopping my teeth, but I was getting a lot of stage time. So I was headlining by the time I left Minnesota.
Nice.
Wow.
And I wound up doing my first Letterman, and hats off to Bob Morton and David and Barry Sand and those guys for giving me the shot. I was 4 years into comedy. I'm doing my first Letterman.
Right.
And I remember walking around Central Park like all night. I could not.
You freaking out?
I could not go to sleep.
Yeah.
So crazy, but I did it and went great. And that's a story how I got that, because I had been coming out to New York. One of my older brothers lived in New York, so I had a place to crash.
Oh,
so I would go and just try to do the clubs.
That's good.
And just do the clubs and get into it. And then Letterman auditions. So I would sign up and they would go, okay, great. And I was in contact with Robert Morton. Yeah, sure, come out. We'll put you on the showcase and everything. So I would come out on my own dime and just you know, try to middle at Garvin's in D.C. or whatever.
Sure, you
know. So that's the way you would do it.
Yeah.
And then I go to New York for the showcase, and you go, yeah, we can't squeeze you on. And that happened like 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
And I thought, oh, man. And I didn't have the brain power and the concept of other humans and how to connect to them to understand, oh, this is just a business thing.
Right.
Robert's putting showcases together every freaking week.
Yeah.
He's got a...
Right.
So after about 5 of them, you know, I just... stopped him in the lobby at Catch a Rising Star in New York, and I said, can't I get on one of these showcases? And it, you know, I'm literally, you can smell the turnips on me. That's how I just dropped off the turnip truck from Wisconsin.
Right, yeah.
Right? Isn't your job supposed to be to look at comics? And Barry Sand happened to be standing right there talking to somebody else, and he turns around and he goes, oh, you want to be on the showcase? You're on tomorrow night. So I go on the next night. I kill.
Nice.
They put me on the show.
Yeah.
I can't get back in after that, even though it went well. And I call Leno.
Yeah.
Because I knew Jay. Jay goes, let me tell you, He puts in a call. He goes, you know, you kind of left Robert with egg on his face in front of his boss. And I went, oh, Jesus, I don't even know.
Right.
I don't even understand the politics of this, you know? I'm a complete bumpkin, so I go, oh, shit. So I apologize to Robert.
Yeah.
Sure enough, about 10 months later, I get my second shot on Letterman.
Yeah.
Jim McCauley sees that.
Right.
He's the talent booker at the Tonight Show.
Famously, right?
Yes, famously the talent booker at the Tonight Show. He goes, all right, I think you're about ready. Let's put a little more time in. I want to make sure you've got 4 shots ready so that if Johnny likes you, I can call you in 6 months, you got another shot ready.
Right.
Or if somebody falls out, I can call you in 2 months, you got another shot.
And for the audience, I just want to stress, that's 4.
It's about 25 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, it's tight 5 minutes.
And then you have to have new stuff in case you get called over.
Exactly,
the couch.
yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But so he goes, yeah, I think you're ready. And that's how I got it, because I did Letterman.
Yeah.
And it went well. And those guys had, the faith in me to A, put me on a couple times, and B, allow me the leeway to be an idiot on a personal basis.
I'm sure it's charming on some level, though.
And now, I know Robert well, and he's a friend, and we joke about it. Because, I was I was literally like I had, blue jeans on.
Yeah.
Ain't your job supposed to be? Ding. Like, what am I doing?
I want to get on that TV show. There's banjos just playing for some reason.
Exactly.
You didn't even know the banjo player.
So I got the Tonight Show, and it went really, really, really,
so
really
great.
well. And then I just kept doing it. I did those 15 in about a 4-year span.
That's so great.
Wow.
I was pounding.
And you'd get called over to the couch?
No, well, not the first time. But there's a wonderful mystery to that. That's beautiful.
Sure.
But there are 2 or 3 ways you can get called over.
Okay.
And the first is you do so well, Roseanne.
Yeah.
Louis. People. Freddie Prinze, I think, was the first maybe ever to really get the we're stopping down the rest of the show to hell with it. Get your ass over here. You're the funniest thing we've seen.
Yeah.
There's that way. That is beautiful, and that's an amazing thing. There are other ways. They always have you prepped for the couch.
Yeah.
In case the roof blows off the place, Johnny goes, come on over. But also, somebody runs short.
Yes.
The music act only does 1 tune, and they were supposed to do 2.
Right.
The third lead on the sitcom that Johnny's trying to make work.
Yes.
Hard for 1 segment, interviewing them, trying to make them interesting.
Yeah.
Supposed to do 2 segments. Johnny goes,
forget it. Yeah.
Help me out here. And they'll have that meeting at the desk during commercial break.
Yeah.
So there's a number of ways that they need to. That's where the accordion expands or contracts, is the very end of a talk show.
Right.
And now I see that, having produced talk shows. You need that minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Yes.
So you might be called over for that reason. The third reason is something catastrophic happens, and they just need to fill time.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then you better be ready. Even if you didn't do that well,
Right.
they might need you to come over.
Sure, yeah.
So there's 2 or 3 ways you can get over there.
Yeah.
But I didn't get called over my first time.
So-
But I did really, really well. And he said, you're going to be hearing from that kid, that kind of thing. And I
That's
just went,
great.
wow. So,
Yeah, because
out.
traditionally you don't get it the first time anyway. Traditionally.
Right.
Yeah.
And I got it on clockwork, the 4th or 5th time, I think they say
That's
when you're
awesome.
doing it. And that's when
Nice.
Johnny was comfortable enough to do it. And
Are you shitting your pants when you hear that famous voice say your name?
oh, yeah, it was. And,
You're just behind a curtain, right?
yeah. And he bent over backwards. Most times I saw the show, and especially in my case, Carl Reiner was the guest.
Wow.
The guest.
Yeah.
Carl, for no reason, sticks around.
Yeah.
We're 54 minutes into the show. Even Carl Reiner's not asleep yet. He's there. Carson's there. Carson literally, you're here on a great night. Great night for a young comedian. And he just rolls out this red carpet.
Right.
And I come out, and my first joke was literally some version of I'm Italian. It's hard for me to get used to California. I show up at a beach out here. People go, "Who called a cab?" So it's like that.
Yeah.
That bam hits them right between the eyes, and from there on, everything rolls.
Nice.
And I can hear Carl laughing, and I hear Johnny laughing,
Wow.
and I just keep thinking, "Don't fuck this up. Just take these moments where they're look like you're enjoying their applause, but think of your next joke so you don't fuck it up." So that's kind of, I was able to do that, and then I was on a fairly regular basis.
That is unbelievable.
Nice. Yeah, it was great.
And you're very involved with one of my favorite shows of all time, the Larry Sanders Show.
Oh my God!
I as a 12-year-old kid, I didn't have cable, but they spit It's Garry Shandling Show over to Fox.
Right.
When Fox was new. And I've been watching, I was only 12, but I've been watching sitcoms for like 6 years straight, like hours and hours and hours. And so I totally got someone taking the piss out of and parodying sitcoms. And it fucking blew my mind. And I love this guy.
That's a great show.
I
It's
started
Garry
rewatching
Shandling
that show. It's so fantastic.
And since that show was on, Fox also put on an hour special, which they didn't have that many hour specials in the 80s. Garry Shandling had an hour special out on Showtime or something. They put it on Fox. And I love that too. Even though I didn't fucking get half the jokes, because I was too young. Yeah. I fucking loved it. And then obviously I love Larry Sanders, and you're often the guest, or you're often Larry Sanders would say next week that you were going to be on. In many episodes.
I met Garry through Dennis Miller. I met Dennis Miller in the clubs here in the mid 80s when nothing was happening for either of us, and we both got into town, and we were very similar. Yeah. We wrote similarly. Yeah. He was one side of the coin, a little darker, a little more focused from a personality standpoint. And I was kind of the other side of the coin. Yeah. But we were both kind of awkward, non-athletic Rust Belt guys. Yes. He was from Pittsburgh. I was from Kenosha, Wisconsin, which is the north end of the Rust Belt. So we hit it off, and that's how I made my connection with Dennis. And then Dennis just hit on SNL as the Weekend Update guy.
Yeah, which was, he's my favorite Weekend Up guy. Yeah. Because he's my first. You never forget your first.
Right.
I love him the most.
Yeah, he really defined the new way to take
I've never seen a comedian that was kind of like a badass, like kind of had like a rock star, long hair attitude. I'd never seen that. Yeah.
He was phenomenal at that. Yeah. And I love the guy to death. And so even when he hit it, and even when he was starting to get so hot, he was getting ads and even little movie roles and stuff, he and Garry were repped by Brillstein Gray, by Brad Gray. Right. And so they would still often work together, Garry and Dennis. And when Garry would guest host The Tonight Show, he would call Dennis, even as big as Dennis was, and say, come on in, I'm guest hosting for a week, let's kick around jokes. Yeah. And Garry came from writing. Garry started as a sitcom writer. Okay. So he had tremendous respect for writers. Yes. He would get lists from the actual Tonight Show writers, and then another 10 guys. He would just call and say, "I'm hosting. Send me 10 jokes." Right. And he and Dennis would filter through them, and they got stuck on a joke. I'm sitting in my studio apartment in Studio City. Yeah. Sweatbox. I don't have air conditioning. It's 88 degrees. I'm twiddling my thumbs. I get a call. It's Dennis. He goes, "Hey, Jeffro, we're stuck on a premise." I go, "Where are you?" He goes, "I'm helping Garry write jokes. I'm at the Tonight Show. Anyway, here's the premise. At the time, there was a televangelist, Jim Baker, had a wife, Tammy Faye Baker. I remember. Yeah. She had like a big talk show in the Christian world. Yes. And she had decided to finally go on hiatus. Something had happened with Jim or something, one of those crises. She was going to take some time off, but she had decided to have guest hosts. Yeah. And he goes, "Jeffro, the premise is Tammy Faye Baker's going to have guest hosts. That's all we got. You got anything? Let me know." So I go, "Give me 3 minutes." Yeah. Because I'm not one of those zing guys.
Yeah. You're a notebook pencil guy.
Yeah. 3-4 minutes later, I call him back. I go, Tammy Faye Baker's going to have guest hosts, and the first one's going to be, they decide to use Joan Rivers as the first guest host because that way they don't have to change makeup later. Nice. So Dennis relay goes, "Jeffro, good." He relays it. Garry loves it, uses it. Yeah. So I hear my joke on the Tonight Show that night. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. And then Garry calls me and goes, "Jeffro, why don't you come on in?" Yeah. So I go on in and I just start dishing jokes with these guys. Nice. And, it was fantastic. And at the time I'd done 3 or 4 Tonight Shows myself. So, it was like, it was just a great way. And that's how I met Garry. Yeah. Then so I started to write a little bit for Garry in these weird situations. Like It's Garry Shandling Show. If he needed something, I'd throw it.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Then when he got the Larry Sanders Show, he said, "Jeff, I need monologue." I need monologue. We're doing monologue nights. Larry has to have a believable monologue.
Yeah.
So I would sit down with him, and we would just write monologue jokes for Larry, for Garry, or Garry for I didn't even know.
Yeah, right.
You know, so I just wrote jokes, and Garry liked to do it the old-fashioned way. He would have monologue nights.
Yes.
Where he would change the suit 5 times.
Gotcha.
And do 5 different monologues, and
Right.
those they would stretch out over the year.
Right.
And he'd like them on cue cards, and he'd like them on the floor backstage.
Yeah.
And then he'd walk through them.
Yeah.
And he would pick the jokes for each monologue, and he had a mind that was like, I can't, you know.
I love what he does.
It was like the deck of the Queen Mary, the conning deck. You know, it's just like he's in control of it.
Yeah.
He's seeing things.
Right.
I'm not even going to see for like a decade.
Sure.
Okay. So it was great to work with him on just these specific jokes. And then he said, Jeff, I can't get you in the show or anything, but I tell you what I'll do. I'll mention you. That'll help.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. He would do a monologue. Then they would cut to the desk or whatever.
Yeah.
And he would be leaning over trying to make time with some actress or whatever he was doing. And then they'd come back and he'd go, that's it for the show tonight. My apologies to Jeff Cesario. We're going to have to bump him. And that's how he would mention me.
It was
like an inside joke and funny.
Yeah.
And then I kept writing him jokes, so he kept doing it.
Yeah, I loved it.
And then like after 10 times, I was thinking about going on to another phase of my career. I'd always wanted to work behind the camera, and I was doing that on Dennis Miller, but I wanted to write. So I pulled Judd Apatow aside, whom I knew a little bit through Garry.
Yeah.
I said, Judd, I got an idea for an episode where called The Bump, where he's bumped me for like the 11th time, and I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And I guilt him, and he feels so guilty that he puts me on like the next night.
Right.
And then the next night, all hell breaks loose.
Right.
Like Tom Petty's playing, and he doesn't want to do 2 tunes. He wants to do 3. Hank's dad dies, and Hank wants to do a eulogy on air.
Yeah.
They keep cutting my set down and cutting my set down and cutting my set down to the point where Artie goes, hey, what's that one joke you do about valets? And I go, oh, that joke. Yeah, it's a good joke. He goes, it's a great joke. Cut it. And he walks away. So they get me down to a minute and a half as my set. It's not even a Star
that's nothing.
Star Search set. It's nothing. But I do it and it goes well. And Larry Sanders goes, Jeff, come on up to the house and we'll watch. So we watch it at Larry Sanders' fictitious house. Yeah. And the second he introduces me, we're preempted by the news by another slow-speed celebrity murder car chase, like OJ.
So fucking great.
And from there, he liked the way that went, although kudos to Judd for putting it into a form that I could learn from and that Garry could go, oh, Jeff kind of writes.
Right.
So that helped, and then Garry had me on staff.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was great.
Nice.
Now, it was a groundbreaking show, the Larry Sanders Show. We take it for granted now that you can have like that meta world.
Yeah.
Did it seem crazy to you? Did it seem genius to you when you
It
first?
seemed genius.
Yeah.
And it clearly took an amazing amount out of Garry.
Oh, sure.
We would be, 2 episodes into a 11 episode stretch.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, could we do an episode where Artie has the lead? 'Cause he was exhausted because he's writing virtually every episode.
Yeah.
Judd was a big staffer. Peter Tolan was a guy who I would say could bat 500, about 50% of his. If 50% of your Larry Sanders script was intact after Garry read it, that was shot. That was big. Amazing. Yeah. That's big.
Right.
Sure.
And John Vitti could do it. John Rigi could do it. Peter Tolan was really big one. Paul Sims the first couple of years. So those guys could really do. I was lucky if I got 10%.
Yeah.
Through.
Right.
So, but it was like narrative camp. I would go every day and just watch people and learn how to try to write.
Cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
What was Rip Torn like?
Great. All those guys.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I bet.
Funny, hilarious. Janine, Rip, Jeffrey Tambor.
Yeah, that cast is amazing.
Oh, yeah, come on.
We're
still saying hey now.
Yeah.
We're still saying it.
Right.
I mean,
Howard Stern has grabbed it and just ran with it.
Yeah.
It's still alive, you know?
Yeah, I mean, all those guys were unreal and nice to the writers and gifted actors.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them, Scott Thompson, every one of them was Jeremy Piven, all of those guys.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know, we're just killers.
You had Bob Odenkirk coming in. You had Janine Garofalo.
You know, and they were so good and had done so many other things, movies, television, the stage.
Yes.
I mean, Rip Torn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love him in that
I was
show.
hesitant to even look at him, and he was just the nicest guy.
So
That's
you know,
so funny.
in that environment.
Sure.
The only thing that would throw them is if something was like off or weird in the script. I remember, and I don't know how this happened. I know how it happened from the writer's standpoint.
Yeah.
But I don't know how it got through the process.
Yeah.
Often in this business, you have to put instructions parenthetically above dialogue to help actors. You're either in a time crunch.
Sure.
You know, you're cranking these out once a week or you know, or you've got a cast of 15 and 6 of them are kids and you got to kind of help.
Yeah.
So it'll say frustrated. And then you read your dialogue and it's a cue to for the actor to act frustrated.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you don't do that with
actors.
Don't like Jeffrey Tambor.
Yeah. Actors hate that in general, right?
They were around when Arthur Miller was going.
Yeah.
Here's how I'm going to direct that scene. You know, so you know these tremendous playwrights. They've acted. You know, so
I'll tell you.
So
what
somehow it
I'm
slipped through.
Yeah.
You know, and it's I can't even remember the parenthetical. It was like, and it was already, and he was just table reading. He goes. It says here glib. And he means something like, and I can't remember. It was so you're supposed to go in the green room.
Yeah.
And he literally turned. And he went, "Is that glib enough? Is that the level of glib that you're seeking?" And he just.
So funny.
And I'm like 3 rows back because I'm not even. It's not even my script. You know, and I'm just like, oh God damn! Remind me never to put that in.
I could talk about this forever, but we got to go to Brennan Tasseff if we can, Aaron. This is fascinating, man. This is why I love podcasting, because I would never bother you this much in a green room.
Right.
But this stuff is just so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll have to have you back.
Oh, man. Anytime. Anytime.
Brennan's, we're calling him in from New York City. We used to do a podcast. This is actually the podcast, The Power of How, where we had a segment called Was I a Dick? And basically somebody tells a story where they're not sure if they were a dick or the other person was a dick. And we are the jury, and we will decide whether Brennan was a dick or not.
I'm in.
The funny thing is, most of the time we do this, we're all such nice guys. Usually, the person telling the story is not actually a dick. But let's see how this goes. Maybe Brennan was a dick.
It's a good
It would definitely be more exciting if he was. And then we got a movie review if we can fit that in, because Wendell's got to go to work soon. We have a movie reviewer who works at the airport.
Wow.
So yeah, that's his credentials.
Yeah. That's a good place to find an movie review.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that's like, kind of, we sifted.
The volume wasn't loud enough. That's my biggest hassle with that movie. I have a lot of volume problems with the movies.
I listen to it with terrible headphones.
My headphones don't even play music. They're just those headphones. Those guys.
Let's see what we got.
There you go.
Oh, Brennan, what's up, dude? Sorry to keep you waiting.
What's up?
We're having a good time over here.
How's everybody doing?
Good, man. Good to see you. We're running out of time. I've explained the segment, so
all right, beautiful.
Let's see what you got this week.
All right, I like that shirt, by the way.
Hey, man. It's still up on iTunes and everything. If anyone wants to listen.
Yeah, I wear mine all the time.
Yeah.
All right. So Matt's already explained the segment, so let's just get into it. Moving is shitty. Everybody hates to move.
Yes.
Nobody likes it, especially moving in a major metropolitan area. You kind of got to just go. You can't just park a U-Haul in the driveway and take your time. So I moved out of my apartment in Manhattan to Astoria, Queens, and I had to leave a few things in the apartment. Just couldn't take them with me. Didn't need them. Bed, couple of boxes, no big deal. Go back a couple days ago to get them out. only one elevator is working in the building, the 35-story building with hundreds of tenants.
Yeah.
We got one elevator.
Yeah.
So I call maintenance. I'm like, hey, can you come get this bed? Because I'm not allowed to put it out on the street myself. They said, yeah, someone will be there in an hour. Hour and a half later, nobody shows up. I'm like, I'll take these boxes down. So this is where we get into was I a dick.
Okay.
Waiting for the elevator. I hit the button, it lights up, then the light goes away. Hit the button again, lights up, light goes away. As I'm doing this for like 5 to 7 minutes, an older gentleman comes out of his apartment. And he's one of these guys, like, skibbity bop doo, I'm too blessed. How you doing, young buck?
He doesn't have a job. Yeah.
One of these kind of guys.
Right.
Just super stoked on life. And I'm pissed because I've been waiting for the elevator for 7 minutes and the light just keeps not coming. But I can pretend. I go, yeah, I'm doing great, man. You know, just moving out, getting all my stuff together. And he was like, you're moving out? I just moved in, you know? This is a great building. Chatter, chatter, chatter. He's holding a laundry bag. Finally, the elevator gets there, doors open. He doesn't even hesitate because there's only one elevator, it's packed. Doesn't hesitate to slam into, like, get into the elevator with his bag, leaving me standing there holding these boxes like, all right, cool. By the time the elevator came back up, he had gone downstairs, done his laundry, came out, and he goes, see, young man, I told you I was the magic man. The elevator always works for me. And at this point, I turn to him and I go, yeah, well, it didn't fucking work for me, man. To my defense, I had been standing there now for like 22 minutes for the one elevator.
You're feeling it.
And I couldn't get on it because it was going up, so I had to wait for it to come back down.
Yeah.
So he came out and he was just all like, see, man, I'm the magic man. It worked for me. And I just snapped.
You son of a bitch.
Now, before I give my judgment of all this, did his mood change when you said that?
Right.
He kind of gave me a look.
Yeah.
And just walked away. Like it wasn't like he wasn't scatting anymore. He wasn't having a great time. But I just was like, it didn't fucking work for me, man. And he just kind of looked over and then just turned and walked to his apartment.
You neutralized him. You didn't.
Well, it's this situational awareness.
Yeah.
And Craig, I know you deal with this all the time. It's like people like don't understand. Like, do you understand what's happening here?
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say the magic man was just like, yeah, I'm not taking your energy, bro.
Yeah, but like that's insane to me. I've been standing here since before you came out of your apartment. You cut in front of me.
Yeah.
Went downstairs. You were able to load your laundry and come back up, and you still see me standing here, and you think the right play is to be like, haha, sucks to be you, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so listen, the magic man was definitely a dick.
Agreed.
All right. Unfortunately, this segment is called Was I a Dick? And yeah, you were a dick. And everybody understands why you were a dick. And we celebrate you being a dick. And if it was a movie, we'd be like, thank God the main character was a dick. But
sure.
you were a dick. You were a dick.
So
that's my vote.
There's a subtext of justified dick.
Sure.
Yes.
So
Thank you, Jeff.
You are a step up, Brennan. It's not unjustified dickness. You are. It was justified in this case. How can I ask? How was it like a 90-year-old Sammy Davis Jr. kind of guy? Or,
No,
you use the word scat.
is it more of a Terry Crews kind of high on life?
Put those together, like kind of in between age-wise, probably like in his 60s, early 70s.
Okay. Well,
but had explained
maybe
when we were making small talk that he like grew up in the projects and now he's in a nice building and he loves life and everything's great.
He's the
and I was
magic
like,
man.
Cool, yeah, it's cool,
He's
man.
the magic man. He's George Jefferson.
So he's
with a good attitude.
He's riding high.
Yeah.
And you were the surfboard. He rode you. He rode you right into the elevator.
Yeah.
The fact that he got in the elevator and then looked at me like, "You're gonna try to get in here?" Well, I was like, "What is? No, there's no room." What?
Yeah. Now, are you holding the boxes?
I was holding them the whole time because I was just like, I don't know when the elevator's going to come.
Now,
I didn't want to set them down.
Well, let's go back a half a step on that one. Is that a little bit of a, because you look buff, is that kind of a buff ego thing? Could you have gotten a hand cart and just had the boxes on a hand cart?
No, the boxes weren't heavy enough to warrant waiting for the elevator to go down to get a hand cart to come back up.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, so you were caught in that catch-22.
Yeah, because only one elevator was working. So I was like, if I have to make this trip, I'm going to make it once. And
yeah.
Oh, boy, was it a trip.
Did you think to yourself, you know what, maybe I'll just leave the boxes?
I did. Yeah. But I was like, I have to get the security deposit back.
You should have lit them on fire in front of the Magic Man's door.
I should have been like, here, you take these, man.
Cast a spell on this, bitch.
Trash chute? Did they have a trash chute? You could have just dumped them down the trash
There
chute.
you go.
I did cut up. I had a big rug that I wasn't going to haul down. I did cut that into pieces and throw it down the trash chute.
Sweet.
Nice.
So we already got a 2/3 majority, but Craig, let's hear your opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with Jeff on that. Like, total justified dick move. But, yeah, I mean, just sliding in ahead of you on the elevator, I mean.
Yeah, that's a weird move.
That right there warrants almost a beating.
Shitty move.
Yeah.
I almost did like, what are you doing? Kind of like a hand on the chest. Like,
right.
What's up, man?
That would have been nice.
What's up, man?
That would have been nice.
Would have been gentler than, hey, you know how long I've been waiting for this fucking elevator?
Yeah.
That would have just been a nicer, a slightly gentler way to handle a 64-year-old.
Well, so you're
Scatman Crothers.
Right.
You know, just a gentle.
Got him.
Unfortunately, we got to go, Brennan. Thanks so much for doing this segment, keeping this segment alive.
Yeah, of course.
You still have honorable mention as a nice guy, even though you were a dick. Everyone understands your dickheadedness.
Could we do the Richard Jenny?
Oh, it's too long.
Is it?
Yeah,
no, we'll save it.
We'll have to save it for another time. We got to get Wendell on here. Otherwise, I'm going to get cursed out.
There you go.
Mad love. Great to see you, Brennan.
Great to see you guys.
See you, man.
So how much time do we have, Aaron?
We're already at an hour.
Okay, I'll keep this short. I'll keep them to the review.
Copy that.
Yeah, goddamn.
That's good.
That
That's
makes me not miss New York City. That
Sure.
story.
Yeah.
35.
I wonder if there's a way to just like dump it down the trash chute and then go, hey, Scatman, how about a beer? Let's celebrate your new place. And go in and kill like an hour. Just see how high he actually is riding life.
Let's get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
Let's get the details.
Let's find out where he hides his pot.
Edibles just kicked in.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than moving, but especially in New York City.
Oh, for
worst.
sure.
my
Oh, I can't
We were
imagine
in a
that.
4-story walk up when I just moved in January.
Oof.
It's terrible.
Yeah, walk up. It's rough.
And all I did was bring up the empty plastic boxes. The movers had to do all the work, but still,
Movers
just
in
the
New
empty
York.
plastic box is enough.
Yeah, there's a job, dude. Movers in New York.
Oof.
Man.
How many times in the process do you have to stop and check your shoes for dog shit?
all the time.
Yeah, like it's got to be 10
Sure.
times a trip.
Yeah. No, my wife was wearing sandals one time. Enough with the dog shit, but like there's rat walking by and I accidentally kicked it and it set the rat off course and it ran right over my wife's barefoot and like grabbed a hold, dude.
Oh, and grabbed hold.
Little mini
so,
grab while
so
I
you
ran.
gotta stay married.
Yeah, no, this
There's
is
no
it.
out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I mean that'll definitely come into play with the lawyers. Like,
Yeah. Oh, you're in.
You know,
You're in.
he
No, there's
kicked
no
the rat
doubt.
right onto her foot.
Dude.
Wendell, Eric Wendell, our movie reviewer. How are you, buddy? You look great.
What's up, man? It's panicking. I have to leave in like 5 minutes.
All right, that's all
Go.
we need from you. I apologize for having you on so late. If you ever need to bail, just bail. But let's hear this movie review. What do you got?
I watched the Bikeriders. Finally got a chance to see the Bikeriders. It's loosely based on how the outlaw biker gang started.
Okay.
It takes place basically this guy rode with them for about 5 years or so, from 65 to 73, and he had like a microphone and a camera and everything, and so he recorded a bunch of stuff and he took a bunch of pictures and just kind of was in bed with this biker gang from its inception until it took a turn for, maybe the way we see biker gangs today.
A little bit of a Aryan Brotherhood style turn, or
I didn't see that in there, but they did start dabbling in like some drug activity,
Little
a little bit
methamphetamines?
of you know, a little bit of murder for hire.
Sure.
You know,
just a little bit.
Not so happy type stuff, you know.
A little bit.
Yeah. A little bit of murder.
A little bit.
Sounds like the right path.
Yeah. Just a sneak up murder here and there, you know what I mean?
Sneak up murder.
Just a little.
I had a biker once tell me they call it crank because they used to hide it in the crankshaft when they transported it. And I go, oh, fun fact.
Didn't know that. I thought it just cranked you up real good.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Double meaning.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Wow, I learned something new today. That's great.
Yeah.
It's got a really good cast. You got Norman Reedus in there who loves to do bike stuff, and if you don't know who that is, it's a founding cast member of The Walking Dead.
Okay.
Excuse me. You got him. You got my phone reset. Awesome.
You got Bane, right? You got Tom Hardy in there. Is Tom Hardy in there?
You got Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
You got that kid.
Yeah,
from,
sorry, my phone's.
Oh yeah,
Elvis.
I'm having phone
the
issues.
Elvis kid.
The Elvis kid. That's his name now because he refused to stop being Elvis. So now you're Elvis.
15-year career. We boiled him down to the Elvis kid.
Short Elvis.
Short Elvis.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'll have him on here.
Short
Elvis.
That's great.
Yeah. So anything else?
Yeah, he's great. You got Michael Shannon in there.
Oh,
Tom
cool.
Hardy. You got
Michael
Norman Reedus. It's an all-star cast. I mean, wow, Norman Reedus really played the South LA biker gang guy like just really great. Like wait till you see his character. It's fucking off the chain. Like, I mean, he must have been in the makeup chair for hours unless he really grew that crazy facial hair out himself. Like, it's just insane.
Wow.
So what are you giving this movie?
Anyways.
You like it?
Yeah, no, it was really interesting. It was really good. I mean, it's based on a book, so it's loosely based on a true story. So you might not get the Hollywood happy ending that you're hoping for.
Oh, that's
you know?
a spoiler if I ever heard it. Come on.
Nah,
Not necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really a spoiler. I mean, I'm not giving anything away, but maybe everything doesn't get tied up the way you want. You know what I mean? But hey, it's based on a book, so what are you gonna do, right?
Right.
But I give it easy 4.5 ice cream trucks. It was very entertaining.
All right. Nice.
I have to check it out, man. I have to check it out. I apologize for getting you on so late. I hope I don't fuck up your day. Thanks for joining us
that's
once
okay.
again, Wendell. We got to run. Jeff, do you want to plug anything?
Peace out.
I got nothing to plug.
Okay, cool.
Except,
Twitter?
Go see Bikeriders. Yeah, you can follow me on X or whatever the hell it is now.
Whatever it is.
At Real Jeff Cesario, and or you can go to my YouTube channel, which is Jeff Cesario New and Used Comedy.
All right.
Are you still doing In the Writer's Room?
No, we've morphed it. I have a podcast co-hosted by Jake Johansson.
Awesome. Right.
Called Strip Mall Think Tank.
Awesome.
Where we do something a little similar, where it's amateurs solving stupid little problems. So we try to solve.
Yeah.
We actually try to solve little problems, and Jake is remarkably good at it. I would rather just riff, but he can riff and come up with solutions at the same time.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So this week we have Ben Mankiewicz from Turner Classic Movies.
Yes.
Wow, cool.
And there's also tons of these stand-up clips we're talking about. Like you have Tonight Show stuff on there, and your specials on there.
I don't know if I have a full special on there yet, but I got clips, and I got clips from when I was writing sketches on Queen Latifah's show.
Awesome.
It's just a bunch of, it's just a catch-all for video clips before somebody takes them off the internet.
Well, thanks so much for being on, man. This was the best.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
This is the best.
Great to meet
Thank you,
Jeff.
guys. I appreciate you letting me prattle on. I scour through my brain for memories
It's
I haven't thought of
fascinating,
in
man.
a while.
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening, and we're out of here.